Okay, we have just seen Donald Trump arrive at Windsor Castle with the First Lady Melania. There we see Prince William and his wife Kate greeting the US President and the First Lady there. King Charles and Camilla are then yet to greet both the First Lady and the US President. They will then be received in the second state visit to the United Kingdom, an unprecedented visit which hasn't been done in modern history for any leader to the United Kingdom. A state visit is a hugely expensive visit to the United Kingdom, which is the full traditional welcome, which includes a visit to the royal grounds of the United Kingdom, a visit from the royal family. It usually involves traditional British activities that includes that of shooting, royal pageantry, carriage rides, etc. What you're seeing in front of you, you see Queen Camilla and King Charles meet with the US President live from Windsor Castle there, one of the many royal stately homes, possibly the most well known, the second name of the King of the United Kingdom. There we see Charles dressed in blue alongside the US President greeting him. Okay, as you see there, Donald Trump meeting British royal family officials, seemingly very fond and of meeting them. You can see the smile on the president's face there. Very well fond of the royal British family. Here's what's going to unfold over the next few hours. We just saw Trump arrive at Windsor Castle with the First Lady, where the pair were greeted by the Prince and Princess of Wales, Prince William and Princess Kate, otherwise known. And then they walked along the lawn at Windsor Castle, where they met the King and Queen, Charles and Camilla, respectively. And then they would enter the royal coaches. The 6 of them are now taking part in a carriage procession through the grounds of Windsor, passing through the George IV gate into Windsor Castle. Those are the plans. And then the carriages after that are set to arrive at the quadrangle, Windsor Castle, and a British Army Guard of Honour will ready for inspection. Afterwards, the American and the British national anthems will be performed by the Massent Band of Grenadier Guards. And the Scots Guards, King Charles and Trump will inspect the Guards of Honour. And then finally, lunchtime, once the ceremony in the quadrangle wraps up, they will move on and over to the Windsor Castle for a private lunch. Okay, we are now joined by Andrew Latham. He is a professor of international relations, and he joins us live from Minneapolis to discuss this further. Andrew, thank you for joining us. We are seeing pomp, and that is certainly what was promised in this second state visit to the United Kingdom. What is expected here, both ceremonially and, of course, politically as well? Many are calling this a sort of political soft power for the United Kingdom when it comes to flattering Donald Trump. What are your thoughts on this second state visit for the US President, Andrew?
Well, first of all, it's an unprecedented second state visit for a serving US President. And that says a great deal about President Trump's affection for the UK and for the monarchy, also his connection to Scotland via his mother's family. So there's that. Um, so pomp and circumstance for sure. That benefits both Trump in terms of, as you put it, his soft power abroad, but also at home. It just makes him, he needs every bit of help he can get at home with respect to soft power. But there's some, and of course, Prime Minister Starmer benefits, and the Brits in general benefit because this is the world's #1 great power, and he seems to have a special fondness for the UK and the royal family. Having said that, there are some, let's say, hard power issues on the table as well, having to do with tariffs and steel tariffs in particular. The UK government would really like those reduced from 25% to something a little more manageable, maybe to do away with them altogether. And perhaps this special relationship, which goes back to the Second World War, but is extra special now, as Donald Trump might put it. This is an opportunity perhaps to, on the margins at least, negotiate some kind of commitment to reduce those tariffs. So soft power, pomp and circumstance, theatrics, yes, it's all going to be there, the Grenadier Guards, the Scots Guards, the King and Queen, etc. But behind the scenes, below the surface, on the margins, in the corridors, wherever, I think there's going to be some negotiations around those tariffs.
Yes, of course. And Andrew, and how do you think the American public are going to be viewing this? Of course, Donald Trump, it's been quite an eventful week in America. Of course, Donald Trump, that Epstein case still is following Donald Trump and actually has followed Keir Starmer here, of course, him sacking his ambassador to the United States this week after Mendelssohn's links with Epstein have been exposed in those documents. So maybe this could be seen as both men needing this visit to overtake those headlines. But how are people in the United States going to be looking at these visits, especially at this moment when Donald Trump is coming in coming under such pressure at home?
Well, it's ironic, given that the United States was formed through a rebellion against the British monarchy and against the British government, that there always is a kind of residual affection, as it were, amongst Americans for the royal family. Not everybody shares that, of course, but I think it's safe to say that it plays well. And this administration and the government on the other side of the pond, as it were, the Starmer government, need this because, as you say, the Epstein issue keeps popping. More and more revelations, not quite daily, but pretty close. And some positive light, a positive vibe is needed on both sides of the Atlantic. And so this is one of those opportunities. There's going to be a lot of what the Brits do, arguably better than anybody, which is the pomp and circumstance, which is parading for and parading the royal family. Or is it two royal families with President Trump on the scene? So I think, yes, this will be an opportunity for both the Starmer government and the Trump administration to cast their respective governments and administrations in a more positive light, to maybe distract people a little bit. But the tariff issue is not going to go away. Britain's long-term decline is not going to be reversed by this. Britain is in possibly the worst shape it's been, certainly in my lifetime and possibly in several lifetimes. The Trump administration is facing all kinds of headwinds and difficulties. This might be an opportune moment for everybody to take a breath and to reflect on something, at least theatrically, way more positive.
Yes, and Andrew, they call the relationship with between the United Kingdom and the United States the special relationship. This is, as you said, is a unprecedented second state visit for Donald Trump, an invitation from the King. The UK was the first country to have a trade deal with the United States. Do you think this quote-unquote special relationship between Britain and America still carries strategic weight, or is it more of a ceremonial idea now?
I think it's not quite ceremonial, but certainly symbolic. Look, the Brits still have a couple of aircraft carriers. They still have one of the few European fighting forces, at least in Western Europe, that can actually fight. Um, and of course, the city of London is a financial superpower. Britain still is a player, even if it's on the margins of Europe. And it still looms large in the American political imagination or geopolitical imagination. Um, so I think symbolically this is important. It signals that the special relationship in some way, shape, or form is still a thing. Maybe President Trump would call it the very, very extra, extra special relationship. I'm not sure. Um, but when interests collide, as they inevitably do amongst powers, then there's no doubt in my mind that the Americans will do what's best for the United States and the Brits will do what's best for the Brits. Right now, there's a certain alignment on a symbolic level, but this tariff issue is going to be, President Trump is deeply invested in this. Prime Minister Starmer deeply really needs a deal on this, and we'll see how this clash of interests plays out. My suspect is that the Brits will get, as they tend to with President Trump, a special deal to go with the special relationship. Whether it will be zero tariffs or 15% or merely 20% remains to be seen, but I think there'll be some kind of a deal done.
Yes, indeed. And we have seen presidents addressed UK Parliament when they have previously attended state visits like these. Barack Obama famously got a sort of Hollywood welcome. Barack Obama, we've just had a former UK minister on, and he was telling us that Obama is set to speak at a sold-out arena show next week in London. How do you think these two state visits, how do you think Donald Trump's state visit with the staunch opposition around the UK is going to differ with the likes of Obama, or a democratic president, to a more Trumpist president? We can call it Trumpism now, if we can.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there is a special relationship, as we've been discussing, but it's not, the United States is not viewed positively by all Brits. The United States as a kind of imagined great power is often portrayed in the British press and amongst certain segments of the British population in a very negative light, kind of imperial power, a bully, et cetera, et cetera. Barack Obama cut in the opposite direction from that. He humanized the United States in a sense. He appealed to the British left in a way that previous American presidents simply hadn't been able to. Trump does not appeal to that demographic, that constituency, the left progressive wing of the British public. In fact, he rubs them the wrong way, and in mixed metaphors, he pushes all the wrong buttons. So when we put the reaction of the British left to these two occasions, the state visit plus the talk, the Obama talk, I think the Obama talk will go down better. Although he's not an uncomplicated factor in the British imagination. But on the left, if Donald Trump says the sun will come up in the morning, they will disagree with him on that. He is just the avatar of everything that the British left dislikes. So, yeah, we're going to see amongst the British progressives, we're going to see two very different reactions to two very different speeches by two very